Researchers estimate that the average American family takes over 1,500 photos per year. Smile for the camera, hold still, say cheese. Photography has become how families prove to the world and to themselves that everything is fine, that they are happy, that childhood was good. But you scroll through your own childhood albums, if there even are any, and something feels hollow. The smiles are there sometimes, but the joy isn't. You don't remember feeling the way those photos were supposed to make you look. And now, as an adult, you wonder quietly what that means about you, what it means about them, what it means about everything you were told your childhood was. Most people will never understand this, but you already know exactly what I'm talking about. You weren't always someone who noticed this absence. There was a version of you, small, open, still hoping, who didn't yet have the language for what was happening at home. You just knew that the camera only came out on holidays, or when guests were visiting, or when someone needed to document that things looked normal from the outside. You learned early that certain emotions had an audience, and the rest, the real ones, happened in rooms with closed doors and no witnesses. You were perceptive in a way children aren't supposed to have to be. You read the room before you could read a book. You learned which version of yourself was safe to perform and which version needed to go quiet. And somewhere in the archive of your early years, whole seasons of your interior life went undocumented. Not because nothing happened, but because what happened wasn't something anyone wanted a record of. That child didn't disappear. They just learned to keep moving. There is a name for what your nervous system was doing back then. Dr. Stephen Porges, a neuroscientist at Indiana University, developed what he called the polyvagal theory, and it explains something remarkable about you. When a child grows up in an environment where safety is inconsistent, the nervous system doesn't break, it adapts. It becomes extraordinarily skilled at threat detection, at reading microexpressions, at knowing when the atmosphere in a room has shifted before anyone says a word. Your brain built itself around vigilance because vigilance kept you safe. The parts of you that might have been carefree, spontaneous, photographically joyful, they were deprioritized by a nervous system doing exactly what it was designed to do: survive first, flourish later. You weren't failing to be happy, you were succeeding at staying safe. Here is the thing nobody tells you about childhood adaptations. They are not personality flaws, they are architecture. Dr. Bessel van der Kolk, author of The Body Keeps the Score, spent decades documenting how early emotional environments don't just shape behavior, they wire the brain. The child who learns that expressed joy brings unwanted attention, or that laughter gets punished, or that visible happiness invites disruption, that child doesn't stop feeling. They just build a vault. It's not a flaw, it is a blueprint your younger self drew to survive. And that blueprint was precise. You learned which emotions were permitted, which ones cost too much. You built an internal world that was rich and complex and entirely your own, because the external one wasn't always safe to inhabit fully. The absence of joyful photos isn't a symptom of a joyless childhood. It's evidence of a child who was working very, very hard in a house where the camera only told part of the story. But here's what nobody tells you, and this part matters. That same blueprint can cost you something as an adult. The CDC's Adverse Childhood Experiences Study, one of the largest public health investigations ever conducted, found that adults who experienced emotional inconsistency or neglect in childhood are significantly more likely to struggle with chronic hypervigilance, difficulty receiving joy without bracing for its loss, and a deep-seated suspicion that good things come with a hidden price. That last one, you might feel it right now reading this, a voice that says, "But when does this end badly?" A 2019 study published in Developmental Psychology found that adults who couldn't recall expressed joy in childhood environments were more prone to what researchers called anticipatory grief, mourning things before they're gone, leaving before they can be left, dimming their own light preemptively. That protective dimming that once saved you can quietly become the thing that keeps you from being fully seen. That is the honest tension, and you deserve to know it. But here is where your story changes, and where science stops diagnosing you and starts defending you. A landmark study out of Harvard's Center on the Developing Child found that children who develop early emotional regulation skills, who learn to internalize, to observe, to manage an unpredictable environment, often emerge with what researchers describe as exceptional social intelligence, not in spite of what they experienced, because of how they adapted to it. You read people with a precision that takes others decades to develop, if they ever do. You notice what isn't being said. You carry a kind of emotional literacy that the casually happy often never acquire. Dr. Dan Siegel at UCLA calls this earned security, the idea that adults who have consciously processed early emotional scarcity often develop richer, more intentional attachments than those who never had to think about it at all. The vault you built, it is not emptiness, it is depth, and depth is a rare thing in a world of surfaces. Society has a word for people like you. It usually isn't kind, closed off, guarded, hard to read, too serious. The real word is witnessed. You are someone who learned that not everything deserves a performance, that joy when it comes is sacred, not a prop, that laughter shared in private is worth more than laughter staged for an album. You don't perform your emotions for an audience, you experience them. And the people who earn access to your unguarded self receive something extraordinarily rare, the real version of you, unedited, undirected, with no camera in the room. That isn't a deficit, that is a standard. If you are still sitting with doubt, if some part of you is looking at your own childhood and wondering whether you've made too much of it, whether you're being dramatic, whether other people had it harder and turned out fine, I want to speak directly to that part of you. What happened in the rooms that never got photographed was real. The feelings you weren't allowed to have out loud were real. The child who smiled for the camera and felt something entirely different on the inside was real and was doing their absolute best with what they had. There is nothing wrong with you. What you are is someone who has been carrying a very old weight without a name for it. And naming it, understanding it, doesn't rewrite the past, but it does change where you go from here. The next chapter of your life does not have to follow the blueprint drawn in survival. You get to draw a new one, slowly, on your own terms, in whatever rooms feel safe. Leave a comment with one word that describes the child you were when nobody was watching, not the version in the photos, the real one. You already know who that is.